when you look back, there how much people talk about intuition is the same amount they talk about taste. Because when they're not able to explain something, it's like, I don't know. And I would just put that as a taste. I would just put that as I have this because I have this finish. So I know you wrote this excellent article about fitness and turning that je ne sais quoi to an actually executable framework, right? Like giving more meaning and structure to it. So for founders and builders, how do you think they should look at taste? And how do you make them package their observations and judgment into a much more explicable format?
Yeah, great question. I think with improving taste, it's about expanding the things that you're exposed to. So, if you have a very narrow view
Mm,
and, are only seeing, 5 feet above the ground on your own product, it's hard to get a sense of what's happening in this cultural moment, right? Like
mm,
what are consumers seeing elsewhere besides when they're looking right at your platform? It's also hard to know what does good look like. I think
yeah.
I think a great example is when I was working with Seth Godin, previously I was at startup founded a startup backed by Sequoia and Series D, and we were all about shipping quickly. Or so I
Mm,
thought. Because once I started working with Seth, I realized that actually the speed that I was shipping before was so slow. Like at the time, I thought it was so fast, and the whole company thought it was fast. But once I started working with Seth, I realized that his standards for fast were just so much faster. And it's weird because like when you're in the moment of something and like at the time when I was at that previous company, I thought we were moving fast, like I legitimately believed that. And it was only when I was exposed to more and different,
mm.
environments and different people with different standards and different, you know, calibration that I realized that, oh, in fact, what we were doing was actually really slow. So I think, same goes, when we talk about taste, quality, I think is another is
Yeah.
adjacent to taste, right? Because like what is
Mm,
good quality, right? Like it's such this
yeah.
big existential question,
Yeah.
and like, a lot of people think they're doing high quality work. Like, they
Mm,
legitimately will send something to their manager and be like, "This is the best that this could be," right? But then the manager comes back and has a bunch of edits, a bunch of changes. The manager basically noticed a bunch of things that the direct report didn't notice, right? Because they have more experience, they have better taste, they have better judgment, they have better ability to perceive what's happening, a better ability to troubleshoot and fix the errors that they saw. So these are all kinds of, skills that, that more junior person might not have. But in that junior person's mind, like what they did was really high quality. Like that was like the best
mm.
of the, that they could conceive and imagine until their manager came back with an updated version and they're like, "Oh wow, like okay, yeah, this is a lot better." Right? So I think exposing yourself to more so that you can see a broader range of what quality really looks like and have a better sense of benchmarking, I think. I think the benchmarking is so crucial
Yeah.
because I think often it leads to you raising your own standards and realizing
Mm.
that, what you thought was fast before or high quality is not nearly objectively what the global maximum is. It was very much a local maximum of like what you thought
Yeah.
was fast or high quality.
I think taste has definitely suffered from this whole I do not know where this is coming from sort of a thing. So yeah, like I think this like makes sense to be able to constantly expose oneself to greatness, to perhaps what we
Mhm.
see as better versions of it.
Yeah, and I love what you said about how with taste it's similar to intuition where people kind of
Mm,
use it as this all-encompassing like, oh, like not sure where it came from, which goes back to your earlier question of how do founders package or product builders
yeah.
package their thoughts, especially
Mm,
around something that feels rather subjective like taste. And I think it again goes back to going a step further to explain your thought process. So, for example, I would often point out to my team that, this design or this language sounds kind of spammy, right? Like it sounds
mm,
a little bit get rich quick or, a bit too on the nose. And I might
mm,
say that it sounds a little bit like like the ShamWow infomercial, you know, where it's this
Mm.
guy, this like high energy guy who's like trying to sell you this thing. And then like there'll be people like using a normal cloth falling over themselves because like your normal cloth is so confusing until the ShamWow, right? Like, so, you know, it's using analogies, for example, to explain like we do not want to have that vibe,
Oh yeah,
right? Like
fantastic point.
right
Yeah.
now, our email copy has that vibe, right? Like
Mhm.
that's an example of something I would use to describe, like, you know, you might say the email having a certain vibe is taste related, right? But by
Yeah.
explaining, like we kind of sound like ShamWow, the ShamWow guy right now, right? Like that's a way of kind of calling that out
Mm.
and helping people understand, you know? And then I might point out why, what specific parts of the email contribute to that feeling. So for example, there's certain phrasings that are more more casual, punchier, but also like a little bit tech bro, you know? So people
Mhm.
saying like, you know, hey, want to triple your leads in 5 days?